All right, you are now listening to the Thrivers podcast. My name is Samat. I'll be your host for this episode. I'm here with a special friend of mine, someone who I've known since I was 13, 14 years old. So going on almost 12 years at this point. We find ourselves linked by an incredible circumstance that happened in 2016. And at the time, we were in very different points in our lives. But at that moment, it truly connected us forever. So today we're going to be sitting down with a great friend of mine, Ankit Gohil. What's going on, bro? How you doing today?
What's going on, man? It's good to finally talk about this after all this time.
Yeah, man. It's like I said, it came up so like out of the blue because like I was like, as you know, I just moved and I was talking to my man Aston, who we both are mutual friends with, and he was helping me move. And we always get to, talking about like random people because we've known each other since we were about 6 years old.
Right.
And, so at that point in time we were talking and somehow you came up.
Really?
Yeah. And always when your name comes up, because even, I don't know if I told you this, my mom always asks me about you.
Oh, she knows as well.
Yeah. So she's always like, yo, what's his name? The one that got into the accident, Ankit. How's Ankit doing? I'm like, Ankit's doing real well, Mom. So when I show her this, she's gonna be mad excited. But yeah, me and Aston and I were talking, and like it just came up that you and I have never spoken about this. So honestly, it's an honor and it's a pleasure to actually sit down and kind of just flesh out this entire thing because it's something that I'm sure, well, I know you've done. Pardon me. I'm sure you've done on numerous occasions. To friends, family, and I know you mentioned doing other media, but it's something that you and I have never spoken about.
Yeah,
not many people know that like I was there that day.
Yeah.
Not when it happened.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Not as it happened, but like immediately after.
Yeah.
So before we get into that,
I think this is gonna be good. I think this is gonna be the first time I've ever like fully went into detail about like every little aspect of it. So I think you'll be happy with what you get out of this for sure.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'm so excited because like it's something I think about quite often, just from the simple standpoint of like like where I was at that point in time and just how much from that day, specifically that day, how so many things changed. So yeah, man, it's so great to talk to you about this. But before we get into that, like I do want to kind of break down just like our history as friends because, it's not one of those things that I don't think many people know or would even really expect, like I think nowadays like friendship is one of those things that kind of gets like lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's like,
it's hard to come by.
Yeah, everyone's like over here doing this and over there doing that. And like no one really has a true connection with people or they don't like remain connected to those who they were connected with once upon a time. So with us being friends for almost, really past 10 years at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Like where did that all start,
Honestly, I say fashion, and I can literally pinpoint because it came up on my Facebook, like the little 10-year anniversary, whatever. Maybe it came up on my Facebook. I was scrolling through it, and it was like winter break. I was a sophomore. We were both sophomores, and it came up, and it was a post that you like tagged me in or something. It literally just said me and my guy talking about fashion, and then you said in all caps, Google it, and that I think that's like literally where our friendship started. To be honest with you.
All right, so for those of the people who are watching this video, we're going to have to find that and like put this in the video because that is funny. And ironically, I do remember that. Like, I just remember like being like, you remember Tumblr?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Tumblr.
So I remember being like super into Tumblr. And our sophomore year is 2010, 2011, like that year. Yeah. So just to give people some context. So 2010, that's when like Facebook it's still Facebook, but also that's when Twitter started rolling around.
Right.
And that's when Tumblr was like very, very popular.
Right. And
So
Instagram was on its way, but not yet. It wasn't quite there yet.
I don't even remember. I remember getting Instagram maybe that summer, the summer
Yep.
before. It
Like
might have,
before I say,
I
oh
think,
no, oh you're right, you're right. Just Instagram wasn't a year until a year later.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
apologize. You're right.
Cause I remember when I first started Atypical, it was like 2012. It was our senior year.
Yeah,
And I
you're
remember specifically using Instagram for the first time for that reason. But
right.
so yeah, we connected like on fashion instantly. And at the school we went to at Timber Creek, like it's kind of inevitable for people to be into fashion. Like at that school specifically, like everyone was into fashion of some
Yeah,
sort.
everyone was.
And it's funny because I remember like I had friends from Triton and they would be like, yo, all y'all care about is clothes. And I'm like, y'all just can't dress. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not that we just care
It was
about
true,
clothes.
man. A lot of other schools I didn't feel like actually dressed nice.
Not at all. Not at all. So the Creek was something different. And I remember like basketball games, that's when everyone would show
Oh
out.
yeah, bro. Everyone had the nicest. Honestly, I think the vocab word back then was lay. Everyone had the nicest layout.
Everyone had the lay. Everyone had the lay. Yeah, like Creek games were something that everyone in like a 15-mile radius had to come to.
Yeah,
Which is crazy. Which
right.
is crazy. But
You had to show out.
yeah, man. So that's where our friendship like really took off. And then oddly enough, we find ourselves one day going to Cherry Hill Mall and getting lost. And I believe it was for the same reason. Like we just were like
Just
wanted to go
wanted the
look at
clothes,
clothes.
man. Just wanted clothes.
So and this is a huge shout out to our man Fu. He was with us this night, and now that I'm thinking about this, I feel like that was like the day of a basketball game, or like it was like the week. I don't know. I remember a basketball game happening.
I think you're right. A little kid. I think we went after, like right after, or
Yeah,
something like that.
it was either before. Nah, it couldn't have been before because it was super dark, but it might have been. But it was like, let's say for the sake of the story, it was the same day as a basketball game,
Yeah.
which makes this a lot more like Creek freakness because only Timber Creek students would go to a basketball game and then go right to the mall, and we did that.
Hey, and Cherry Hill at that point, not even
And
Deptford,
Cherry
because
Hill.
Deptford didn't have, they had nothing. So
Yo,
we were like, you know what?
I was in
We
Deptford
gotta
Mall
get to
last
Cherry
night,
Hill.
bro. Horrible.
Yeah, bro, it sucks there.
But we got lost going to Cherry Hill Mall. And the funny thing is, at that time, I worked at Cherry Hill Mall. I used to work at the American Eagle.
Oh, true. Yes, I remember that.
And we're driving, and you had the little Nissan joint. That joint was fire. I remember that.
The ultimate, the little coupe.
Yeah, the Coupe Ultima. And I was in the back seat of that joint, like slumped. And like that's what I'm saying. Like we had to be doing something before that. We might have been at your house, honestly. We might have just been kicking it.
Yeah, low key, because we did hang out at my house a lot then.
And I just remember, first of all, speaking of your house, your parents are like super cool. Like their hospitality is top tier. But anyway, I remember being in the back of the car, like, yo, nah, just turn here. Like this is it. I'm positive. And we just kept going around Keynes Avenue over and over again.
Over and over again.
And I remember looking up, and it's funny because I work in Pennsauken now, so I'm very familiar with this area. But at the time, I remember looking up, like, yo, isn't that the bridge? And we were like, yo, we cannot go over the bridge. Like, this is not it. It took us so long to get there. And then when we got there,
I just got my license like a week prior, man. I wasn't ready to do what I'm, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't supposed to be out there. Mom told me not to go. I just didn't listen.
We never do. But so then let's fast forward. Might have been that same year. I remember it being like roughly around springtime. That's when we started this like life-changing, we called it Mixed Bag Coalition. So how about I want you to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, so Mixed Bag Coalition. I can't even believe I've ever talked about this again. It was pretty much like me, you, and Pollard. We had that girl Carissa. We had Chrissy, and I think we had Nate. And the way I looked at it, I was like, this could be a cool like fashion blog. And I mean, to be honest, I've always been confident. Some people say cocky, but I just say I've always been pretty confident. So I thought me, you, Carissa, I thought we dressed the nicest out of our school. So I thought the way I looked at it, we could get the best blog, we could get the best like insight on things, get the best pictures. So, I just, we were all from different friend groups,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really think it mattered because if you could connect over one thing, you become friends. And this kind of makes me think about that ASAP Rocky video all the time that he had with what's that one Adidas creator? He has the sneakers and stuff.
Oh, Jeremy Wang?
Yeah,
No, not
the
Jeremy
other
Wang.
guy.
What's it? Jeremy Scott? Jeremy Scott.
Yeah, Jeremy Scott. And Jeremy Scott would always say, "Yeah, man, like I don't know if he would actually like me. Like, we're just both into fashion." But
Mm-hmm.
ASAP would always be like, "No, like you're my friend. Like, we
Yeah.
connect over this." So that's the way I looked at it. Like, you come from different backgrounds, but if you have like that one thing to click over, connect over, you could be friends. So that's the way I looked at it. I was like, we dress the nicest. We could probably come up with the best ideas between all of us. We could get
Mm-hmm.
the best pictures. We could get the best vlog, stuff like that. So I think that's how that came about. It was cool. I mean, it kept us busy. We were all, creatives at such a young age, so it was pretty nice.
Yeah, you raise a great point bringing up like Jeremy Scott and ASAP Rocky because obviously Jeremy Scott's a white dude. I think he's gay for that matter. So
Yeah,
just to,
right.
he checks certain boxes, and then like ASAP Rocky being a black man, he checks certain boxes. So
Exactly.
we of Mixed Bag Coalition, and I can't believe we're actually talking about this, but like, so it's two black dudes. You're Indian, correct? Is that the
Yeah.
proper? Okay,
Yeah.
so you're Indian. Fu is Vietnamese.
Right.
And Chrissy and Carissa were two white girls.
I think though, low key, that's the reason we named it Mixed Bag Coalition.
Exactly.
Right?
Because
that was the reason.
we were trying to like we were like activists, bro. Like we were really trying to like emphasize like connection and diversity and like just bringing like I don't want to say universal thoughts, but like
different perspectives.
Yeah, man, and like just letting people understand like especially at our school.
No, I think it was important.
It was super important, and I don't even know like what happened to it, like how it kind of just like fizzled off. But like to this day, like I know for a fact, like I still follow Carissa on Instagram. She still follows me. Like she's a wonderful photographer. I remember like a couple years ago. I remember a couple years ago, she was like at this sunflower patch, and I'm like, yo, where is that? And
I did read that comment actually.
And she told me, and I was there the next day. And then, like maybe like a year ago, wait, what year is it? 2021? Okay, this is like 2019. She was at the Tulip Festival, and I'm like, and I at this point I worked at Planet Fitness in Sicklerville when like they first opened up, and I'm like, yo, where is this? Like my girl loves tulips.
Okay.
And it was just like this gigantic field of tulips, and I hit her like, yo, I need to know where this is right now, and she told me, and I bought the tickets, and we were there the same day. So
really?
Like we've been connected, like I guess through the arts and through the same like having appreciation for certain things that go beyond like color, race. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, 100%.
And that's where our friendship
matters,
is.
man. Like
it doesn't. It doesn't.
Like I mean, I guess like in today's world, like or today, I guess it does, but like in our head, it really shouldn't. Like you know what I mean? Like it really shouldn't.
Yeah, it means but this much.
Yeah.
It's an identifying factor. That's all it is.
Yeah,
honestly.
I 100% agree because I never picked friends or thought about friends or anything or connected with people on the thought of that. If we connect, we connect. If we don't, we don't. You know.
Yeah, I feel that. And so you and I have been connected through many things.
Oh yeah, not just fashion.
Right. So then we find ourselves, we graduate high school in 2013, and I went to Rutgers in Newark. So I was up and down like South Jersey, North Jersey for like 3 years.
Yep.
And then so where'd you go after high school?
I went to Rowan my first year, and now looking back on it, kind of wish I took a second not to go to school because I think I was immature.
Man, I say that all the time.
I think I wasted my parents' money. I don't think I was smart. College, if anyone like younger ends up watching this or hearing this, college is not about being the smartest. It's about being organized with your time.
Absolutely.
And I was not organized with my time at all. And I did things that I wasn't supposed to do when I should have been studying. So I really wish I took a year off, let my mind mature,
mm-hmm.
Get out of certain situations, whatever it may be, blah, 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 and then go back. Because even beyond the organizing time, I didn't know what I really wanted to do yet.
Right.
And hey, college money is nothing to really experiment with. So that's me personally. I wish I took a year off and then went back and really thought about what I wanted to do. But
See, even on that point, like we're connected because like I always thought to myself, I probably should have waited
yeah,
to make sure like this is really for me. But let me tell
yeah,
you why I ended up going to Rutgers, because this is a story that I mean I've told people who were like close to me, but I've never like shared this on a media platform per se.
right,
So you remember in our senior year when they passed around like those paper graduation caps and they had you like write your name on it and like say where you're going for college before
yeah,
graduation. All
yeah,
right, so that's like maybe let's just say it's within the last month of our high school tenure, right? So 4 weeks left, 30 days left. I have no idea what I'm doing, right? I'm thinking, um, I'm about to be a graphic designer because that's when I had ATP and I was like, trying to design all the other stuff. So I'm thinking I'm about to just, I'm about to go hard with that. No. So Russ, he was in my English class and and at the time, this is when they gave us the paper. So he was like, yo, just write you going to Camden County on the paper. That's where I'm going, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Cause I don't want to have my name, Thomas Baker, going nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, and again, that's like that pride thing, being at the creek, people
yeah,
knowing you and like, you got to live up to this facade, all this other stuff. So I just wrote
yeah.
Camden County on there and hadn't even applied to Camden County, didn't even do a FAFSA, didn't do any type of college essay, nothing. So just gassing all the way through. But I'm running track at this point in time, right? So the last month of school is also like the last couple weeks of track season. And we had sectionals and we had states. And then we had meet of champs. And I'm not going to keep beating the dead horse, but creek track is nothing to play with. So
Yeah.
we were running all the way to like the last day of school because we were just that nice.
Yeah. You're
And
right.
so sectionals, it's like 3 Fridays in a row. Well, 3 weekends in a row. So Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. Sectionals is the first week. And I'm running hurdles at this point. Donnie House, he graduated like a couple years before us. He lived in Spring Valley.
I don't know. I don't think I do.
So he ran track at the creek and he ended up going to Rutgers Newark. And where sectionals was like maybe half an hour from Rutgers Newark. So like they were sending people to go scout at these different track meets. And he hurdled and I hurdled. So when I'm running, and it's first event on the track, so I'm running, win the race, boom. He was like, yo, Coach Edney wanted me to come here and like try to find some people like that he could possibly recruit because it's like last part of the season. So I'm like, all right, cool. So he was like, yo, your race was great. And I ended up running like 4x4 and 4x1 later on that day. So I had a great race day. Next week, States. Coach Edney's there. He was like, how you doing? Nice to meet you, blah, 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 blah. I'm Coach Edney. I'm the coach at Rutgers Newark, so on and so forth. And now, like, my mom is there, and like they're talking to each other in the stands. And I remember running 4x1, and I'm the anchor. And I'm running down the track, and I'm looking at the corner of my eye, and I'm looking at my mom and the coach talking, right? So this is like, now we're in graduation practice,
Yeah.
like at school. So we're not even having classes anymore. School's over, bro.
Yeah. School's done.
I get a phone call. Like, yo, this is Coach Edney. I need you to write a FAFSA. I need you to fill out your FAFSA, write an essay. I'll waive all the application fees. I'll do all this. I need you to do it now. I'm like, bro, I'm in school. He was like, just do it. So I did it real fast. And he called me back like 2 hours later. And I was in Miss Schenkel's class. You know her, the math teacher?
Yeah.
I was in her class and she was like super cool. She didn't care. I was like, yo, I gotta go. I got a phone call. And I'm like, this is Rutgers. Like, they want me to come run there. So she was like, go. He called me. He was like, yo, you got accepted. You're in. I was like, what? So I went from having
No idea
what I was about to do to like the day before graduation getting accepted into Rutgers University
That's
and running
wild.
track. But here's the downside to that story. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
So
You got pushed into that.
I get to Rutgers and eyes wide open. I stopped running track.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to class.
Right.
I was hooping every day.
All right.
I was in the city all the time. It was
Right.
horrible. And that's when I picked up photography. And it just got to a point where like photography became way more important than like college to me. And again, to your point, had no idea what I wanted to do in school. So I always think to myself, like, man, I wish I had like another year or so to just like figure out who I am and what it is that I'm trying to do.
I think 18, being 18, I think you're too young to really know what you want to do for the rest of your life. Like that shouldn't be normal, to be
Yeah,
honest with
nah, that's a
you. Like
fact.
that shouldn't be normal. Like what? You're still a kid at 18. I look at 18-year-olds now. I'm like, dude, you're so cute. You're so like it's not the
Right.
same thing. Like
Yeah,
you
I
shouldn't
feel
be
that.
figuring out what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. And I don't know.
And
I don't know if you could really say confidently what you want to do for the rest of your life.
yeah, you definitely should not be like required to make a life-changing decision at 18,
Right.
nor should it cost you north of 50 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, hey, that's what I'm saying. Like, I totally agree with you. It's the money thing is crazy, and if you have to be mature to go to college too. Like, that's
Yeah.
another thing. Like, I feel like mentally mature. Like, you have to be ready to do what you have to do. So,
Yo,
because everything falls on you. You don't have your
yeah.
parents to wake you up and be like, hey. Time to go to class. Your teachers aren't going to be on your back if you got a bad grade. If you got a bad
Mhm.
grade, cool. You're just another student.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it
You're
don't
just
matter.
another student, and we gonna send you this bill regardless.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to them. So I totally agree.
So college happens, and because of everything I just said, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't doing anything I was supposed to be doing. Um, my my freshman, my first semester freshman year, I stopped running track. I had a 1.7 GPA, right? And at this point, my coach, at this time, he's not my coach, but he has zero obligation to do anything for me, to help me out, to tell me anything. And bro, he literally called my mom. And I didn't know this, right? He called me to the office one day, and I'm in the track suite, mind you. Like Rutgers was dope because like you didn't have like, it wasn't like one room. It was like apartments all the way through. So I had roommates and suite
Okay.
mates. So in my suite, we were all track athletes, but I was the dummy that quit. So they're like waking up 6 o'clock going to practice. I'm in bed with some girl, like, you know what I'm saying? So my coach calls me. He was like, yo, TJ, come to the office. I want to give you something. I'm like, all right, coach, whatever. And mind you, I was ducking him because like I quit on him. He got me
Yeah.
here and I quit on him.
Right.
So I get to the office and my mom is sitting there, right? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah, dude. What? That's a little. Dude,
like
my heart would drop.
bro, it was a weekday. It was the morning. She didn't go to work. She got up, came up the turnpike. It was like 8 in the morning. So she had to leave at like 6:30. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, hey, mom, what's going on? And he turns his computer around. He was like, this is what's going on. And like, I'm failing everything. And like, my professors are recording in attendance and I'm not there because, like, as an athlete, like, the coaches are in with all the teachers.
Yeah.
So, like, they're keeping tabs on you. Man, listen, I'm not showing up. I'm not turning in my work. The work I am turning in is mediocre, 1.7 GPA. Yo, he ripped me a new one. And the thing about me is like, my mom is like everything, right? So he was like pressing buttons, like, so this is what you're doing? Your mom is working this hard for you to come up here and be fucking around and
Yeah.
da da
I
da
knew
da.
it.
Yo, I bawled my eyes out.
Yeah.
And like she was crying, I was crying. He was like, "You need to get it together." Da, da, da. And I'm like, "All right, coach, I'm sorry." You know.
Yeah.
So
It's tough love, man. But
yeah,
he wasn't
man.
lying though, right?
Nah, he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. So it was like, but that was the epitome of college for me. Like not being mature enough to handle it, not being accountable enough to do what I needed to do when no one was there telling me what to do. And then because it's not like I was doing nothing, I was just building horrible habits. I'm like, with this girl, that girl, this girl, that girl, this girl, that girl. I'm
Yeah.
hooping all day. I'm wasting all this money that I don't have. Like, so it just became like a very like strenuous process for me. So fast forward, I ended up having to leave Rutgers 2015. So now that pushes us into 2016. This is where our stories kind of like they meet, right? So the entire 2016 was probably like the worst year ever for like the first 8 months, right? Just give you a backstory. My license was suspended. I had no money. My mom had just had a heart attack in 2015, so she was like laid up, really couldn't do much. Um, and I just like I was down and out, bro. So I had nothing going on. Now at this exact same point in time, um, like I'm with Russ, I'm with Aston, I'm with the Nate Hayward, um, Russ and Nate
Right.
had just went to the police academy.
Yeah.
So I'm like looking around, like, oh, my homies, they doing this, and Aston, I don't know what he was doing at the time, but Aston's Aston. He's gonna figure something out. And I'm just sitting around like, yo, what is my life? So I was like, maybe I'll be a cop because they became cops. You know what I'm saying? But like somehow they did it in like a way that just happened too fast, and like I couldn't do it. Like you needed 60 college credits, for example. Um, you couldn't have locks. You need to shave your beard. I'm like, I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I
Um,
feel that.
and then so I'm like, maybe I'd go back to school. I've been off for like a year and a half. Maybe I'll just try to figure it out. So again, stupid me, not being accountable to anything, not being responsible. My loans are in default. They're not going to give me financial aid. So I'm doing this fast. So I'm filing it and everything. And I get a letter in the mail like a week and a half later, like you're ineligible for financial aid. And I'm just trying to go to Camden County at this point. Like I'm just trying to do something. This happened the same week of your accident when I found out that I couldn't do anything. So August 4th, right? It was a Sunday, and I was laying in bed, and man, at this point, like I wasn't waking up early, so it was very strange that I woke up at like an early is relative because you just told me you wake up at 5:30 every day. So I woke up at like 8, right? But this is like summer. I'm not doing anything. Yo, at this point in time, I'm with Russ like almost every day, and he's paying for everything. Like we going out to chill with people. He's paying for it. He's driving. He's doing this. He's doing that. I had nothing. I was down and out, bro. And like that piled up on me. So I remember this one day, August 4th, 2016, I woke up and I was just sitting there. And it was like God just smacked me like, yo, go to church today. So I had texted Nate because at this point my phone still, I don't, my license was suspended. So I texted Nate Hayward and was like, yo, we trying to go to church today? He was like, bro, it's funny because I was just thinking about that. So he comes to pick me up. We go to church and literally like we walked in like not halfway through the service, but like right in the middle of the service or towards the beginning of the service rather. And it's like they stopped what they were doing. And like they just called me up and like just prayed for me for like an hour. And after that, like I was still like, okay, but now what? Like I don't know what I'm doing with my life, bro. So I was just sitting around like in a major state of depression. So that day on the 15th, I was sitting on the couch, which I never did at this point. And where my neighborhood, but where my neighborhood was like, I was right at Sicklerville Road. So I'm just sitting there doing nothing, not watching TV, not doing anything. And I hear skirt, boom. I'm like, yo, maybe I should go outside and see what that was.
Right.
So I get on my bike, and I had just bought a bike because my license was suspended, and I didn't want to stay in the house all the time. And I get on my bike, and I hear, Tom, and it was you.
Yeah. Wild. That is wild.
So first of all, where were you going?
So I was just so like I was at my friend Ryan's house at the time, and it was like everyone's coming home from work, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
like family oriented, so I was going to the gym, but my mom and dad were coming home. So my thing was like, yeah, I could go to the gym, I could go to the friend's house, but when my parents are home, I always got to go home first and say hi to them. Like it was always been like a thing with me. Like I always have to go home, say hi to them, ask them how their day was, you know, chat with them for a little bit, and then I'll go to the gym, or then I'll go to my friend's house. So that's what I was doing. So I was at Ryan's house, texted my dad at 5:30, like, hey dad, you're home. I should be home in about 15 minutes, you know. And it's funny, I just came back from vacation, right? I just came back from Punta Cana with the fam. I haven't rode my motorcycle in quite some time, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take the longer route home. I wanna get this ride out. You know, I haven't rode in a bit. And I mean, you know me, I rode my bike everywhere. I rode it to the
Everywhere.
courts. I rode it to work. Like I rode my bike everywhere. Like I loved that thing. So I was like, you know what, it's nice out. I'm gonna take the longer route home. So I did. Um, you know, coming down Cross Keys, about to take a left. And yeah, I was just planning to go home. And then, yeah. Do you want me to get in the whole accident? Like what happened?
So wait, because so I remember, like sitting there and I heard it,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't tell you what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Like that's how loud it was. Like it like shook me,
Right.
and I'm like, there's no way I can just sit here. Like I have to go see what that is. Never, ever, ever, ever would I have thought that my man's was right there.
Yeah.
So walk me through it, because I still don't know what exactly what happened. I just saw like the immediate aftermath.
Yeah. Nah, this is so all right. So like I'm riding home. So I'm on Cross Keys, right? I'm on Cross Keys, and then I'm taking a left onto Sicklerville Road. So
Right.
my cobblestone is like right down Sicklerville Road.
You were basically home.
Yeah, I was literally right there. So I'm almost home. So I just take it right onto Sicklerville, and you know, I'm starting to go. I'm not going fast. I'm going like 25 miles per hour, whatever the speed limit is, or you know, I mean, obviously bikes can accelerate fast.
Yeah.
I didn't. Um, and I see a white truck like coming my way, and I'm just, you know, I don't really think anything of it. I'm like, it's another car. But then I see it trying to take a turn into like the Dunkin' Donuts. So he's taking the left,
Oh, okay.
and I'm still going straight, trying to get past him. And I guess what he thought was he could beat me out on the turn.
Mm.
That he could make it through before I go through, pretty much.
Right.
And he just calculated that like terribly wrong. So I pretty much, like, I've fallen off my bike before, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fall off. You know, I'm like,
So
I'm getting ready.
So wait. So you're coming down Sicklerville Road. He's trying to. Is he stopped at this point?
No.
Like
No, like I could see it, and I know his car is not slowing down. I know his pickup truck's not slowing down. Like I could tell it's like you could tell if a car's slowing down. Yeah. It's not slowing down. It's literally just going.
So you're bracing for impact at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Because like things happen like so quick. Like everyone's like, "Oh, could you have done this? Could you have done this?" Like, well, I'm not a world star athlete. Like I can't. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like things happen so quick. Like, and you know, human reaction is not that fast. But the only thing I could do was like, all right, I'm about to get hit. You know, I could try to swerve a little bit, but I don't know how well it's going to work. So I try to swerve a little bit. I kind of like brace my whole body for impact. So I kind of like just like tense up almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's when I got hit. I like flew off my bike. My bike probably goes like 20 feet in front of me. I don't even know where I landed. I think I landed on the sidewalk.
Yeah. So, okay. So I got there right after that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right.
I'm riding my bike down the street, and you're right. You were like literally, so like that corner where that, like, I guess it's like a little ramp where people can cross the street.
Before you go on, so when you're in get your license for your motorcycle school,
yeah,
they teach you to ride closer to the middle of the road, right? Because they want the driver in front of you to see behind you. So that's the goal. So you're not riding near the sidewalk. You're riding in the middle where that yellow line is.
You're on the inside.
Yeah. So I went from like that yellow line to that sidewalk almost, where you know what I mean?
Jesus.
So I flew, you know, I flew a little bit.
Yeah, because you were not where your bike was,
Yeah, no, not at all.
or parts of your bike, because
Right.
your bike was
Yeah,
everywhere.
it was trash. It
And
was,
again, I didn't know it was you, so I'm just like, yo, what the heck just happened? And again, I'm in my own little world. I'm like, I'm about to just go to CVS and be nosy or whatever. And when I hear you call my name, well, I didn't know it. Still, I didn't know it was you.
yeah,
I'm like, I hear Tom. I'm like,
yeah.
who is call? So how'd you know it was me? And like at that point, I have so many questions about that particular moment.
Yeah,
But
so I guess I'll walk you like through the initial steps and I guess like how I got to like yelling out town. So I get hit, I fly off my bike, I'm laying on the sidewalk, right? And I've gotten, and this is the point, like the pain hasn't set in. And just before
right.
like I go on with this, like most people when they get into traumatic like accidents, whether it be car accident, whatever type of accident, they usually pass out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't remember anything of it. They pass out, you know, no pain. They don't remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pass out. You know what I mean? Like I was awake literally until they took me to hospital. So I remember everything I saw. I remember all the pain up until this day. Like I can't even tell you what my body felt like. But
you sounded exactly how you sound right now.
Yeah.
Like you didn't sound like you were in pain. You didn't sound like you were like going through it. You just like, it was like, yo, you saw me walking down the street and you're like, yo, that's Tom. Yo, Tom, come here.
Yeah. So the pain did set in and
I remember when it happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get hit and I don't know the like severity of the injury yet. So I'm like, okay, I got hit. I don't know how bad it is. Like whatever. I try to get up, but I haven't looked down yet. I haven't looked at my body. I try to get up, but as I'm trying to get up, like my whole left side literally not working. Like I don't know why. So I try to push up with my right side. I can't get up. Like I can't even sit up. So I'm like, what is going on? Now I have a tendon visor. It's like black. And then I pop it open and I look down and I'm just like, now I'm starting to freak out. Now I'm starting to feel the pain. Mm-hmm. So, oh my gosh. So I'm starting to like, freak out, starting to feel the pain. I'm like, look, first thing I see, I look down at my stomach. I see like the insides of my stomach because the whole thing was gashed open from that front bumper that stuck out.
Bro, when I tell people about this, like when I was talking to Aston, I was like, bro, his stomach was on the ground.
Yeah.
No one can fathom what I'm talking about when I say that. And I don't think people believe me when I say that.
No, I know. And I don't think a lot of people believe me either. They're like, what? Like your intestines? I mean, like,
yes.
Here, like it was really bad.
Yes. I'm like, I saw this man's guts. Pause. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It was really bad. So I look down and I see my stomach like completely ripped open because like the way I hit, I like, I think the bike hit and then like a sharp piece on the hood came out and I think I just slid across it, just ripped my whole stomach open. I just flew. So that thing was just completely ripped wide open. It was disgusting. Then I look at my left arm. It's literally like hanging on by like a couple of nerves, like barely hanging on. I look at my left foot. That thing is completely ripped off as well. Like it's hanging on. Like you can see the bones, Tom. Like I don't know if you remember.
I remember
the bones.
I remember your foot and I remember your stomach. I don't remember your arm. So and I don't want to jump ahead, but like I remember when you first like, I think you posted pictures. You were in the hospital or something, and you talking about how you lost your arm. I'm like, wait, he still has his foot. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, yo. I remember looking at your foot. I remember seeing the bones. And I remember thinking like, yo, there is no way that he keeps that foot. Yeah, I didn't even, my eyes didn't even go towards your arm. So when you're saying it was just hanging on by a thread, I'm like,
it was like not there. And then like everyone like remembers the Kevin Ware injury where like he hits his, what is it? I think it's like tibia. It's like out of his skin. Well, that was literally like my femur. Like it was literally like snapped in half and you could see it like literally protruding.
Yo, oddly enough, I saw that Kevin Ware injury live too because I was a huge Louisville fan.
Really?
So that's kind of weird that you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean that's like the best way I could explain it. But you could just like my whole left side, pretty much you could see all the bones, you could see all the breaks, and blood was just rushing out. Blood was just gushing out. But yeah, then so the crazy thing is, I see all that. The guy who hit me comes over and he's freaking out more than I am. And I'm freaking out. But he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. He's like going on. People are like cursing at him in the background. Like,
yeah. And he was trying to like touch you.
Yeah.
And they were like, don't touch him. Yeah. I think, and I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, or even if you remember this. But I remember like either he or someone was trying to get your helmet off.
So yeah, I told him I wanted to take this thing off. So I walked him through how to take this helmet off. I told him how to get the loop. And I think my mom is like the most impressed with that. She was like, so while you were in all this pain and freaking out, you told him how to take the damn helmet off. And I'm like, yeah, you don't even know half the story, mom. Like I talked a lot more than that. But I talk him through it. I'm like, look, you gotta get the loop from here, pull it off, and then it will just pop off. And then when I could see a little bit more clearly and I felt a little bit more free, I mean, I was looking. It's hard to explain, but I was like looking for comfort. So it was like weird that I saw you because you were someone I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
So I was calling for the closest person. I'm like, yo, like Tom, and I think like, I don't know how far you want me to jump ahead, but like my thing was, I really didn't think I was gonna make it. Like that was my thing. I really didn't think I was gonna. I kept telling the EMT, and I kept asking him like, am I gonna die? Like
I remember.
And I'm not saying that like I asked her once. I asked her like 30 times. I'm like, I'm gonna die. Like I don't think I'm making it. Like I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Like it's gonna happen. And she just kept saying, oh honey, like you're still with us right now. You're still with us. And I just did not believe her. I'm not making it through this. This is crazy. Blood spilling out. You see blood everywhere. It was disgusting. Like what it was.
So, yo, it's funny. I can smell the day when you're saying all this. So that was at the point you were like freaking out.
Yeah,
and I remember.
I was calling for you because I was like, people I know, so you can reach out to someone and let them know. Because before, like even when I was calling your name, in the midst of it all, the police have their protocol where if the whatever the victim or whatever is alive or able to talk or conscious, they have to be able to talk to them. So he's talking to me, and I'm literally like, yo, wait, before you go on and ask any questions, take down my home phone number.
Yep, I remember.
Call my mom and tell them what happened. Because I'm not kidding. I literally did not think I was going to make it. I was like, look, if this is it, it's it. But I just want them to know what happened. I don't want them to go around wondering, where he's at and waiting for me to come home. I was just very honest. I was like, I'm a realist. I'm not really that like optimistic about things. I'm like, yo, if I see something, like I said, I just did not think I was going to be alive. So I was like, look, this is my mom's phone number. This is my house phone number. Call them, tell them what happened. And I mean, I think I talked a good amount through like the pain and all.
I remember you telling them to like call your parents.
Right.
And I also remember the EMT telling you like, you're gonna make it, you're okay, you're still here.
Yeah.
And you were like losing it.
Yeah.
And she was trying to keep you calm because like I don't know how that works, but like I guess she didn't want you to exasperate yourself for whatever reason. So I remember, first of all, I was thinking like, yo, is this really happening? Because it went from the guy, you, me, maybe a couple other people, to EMT, fire truck, ambulance, cops, helicopter. All these things are happening.
Yeah.
And I remember when your parents got there.
Yeah, see, I wasn't there for that. I mean, I know what they were doing.
Right.
Like now that the story's been like told back to me, and I honestly think that like that hurts like to know, and it like hurt a lot in the beginning, but like obviously now I've said this like before, but yeah, I mean I know what they were doing, I know what they were up to, but now I actually didn't know that you were there when they got there, so this is kind of interesting to me.
I was there the entire time.
Yeah, that's like, what I'm saying. I didn't know.
When it was dark, I was still there.
Really?
This is why I brought up my mom, because I called my mom at one point throughout that whole debacle. And so, hold on, before I get to that. So, when you called me over, right? At that point, I'm right next to you. And the dude is there. And I remember when the EMT got there, I'm still there. They didn't make me move. Because I'm telling them like, yo, this is my friend. He lives up the street. And you were also telling him at the same time, yo, call my parents. I'm like, yo, his parents live right there. Like you can, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to be that hard to get in contact with them. Like they need to know what's happening, because the same thing you were thinking, I'm not thinking, yo, he's going to die. But I'm listening to you freak out like, yo, I'm going to die. And I'm like, nah, no. Y'all need to call somebody, because it's not like your parents live in West Bubble Freak. Like they live not even like a mile up the road.
Yeah.
And I remember when I felt like it got really serious is when they finally did ask me to move. So then that house, whatever side that is, I can't remember, but that house that's like right next to Dunkin'
Yeah,
Donuts,
yeah,
they were outside and they were talking to me, and I'm like, that's my friend, da 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 da. And then I had to go across the street to CVS, and we're all just like, it was a bunch of people there.
yeah. I don't know if you remember Macy from high school.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She's been
Yeah,
a
yeah,
great friend of mine for such a long time. But I think like I don't know if it was like her uncle, but I think it was her uncle like and Andy's uncle and their like two aunts, and they were at the road, and I think that's how like Macy and
yeah,
Andy ended up finding out.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. A lot of people came out, and I just remember standing in the parking lot the whole time, like, because they were like I don't want to say ridiculously, but like extremely, extremely delicate with you. And I felt like they had every reason. I mean, but again, because I saw you. So I'm like, no, they have to do this right.
yeah. So yeah, honestly, you bring up a good point because I just like we just went through my injuries and what it was like. The stomach was hanging out,
Yeah.
the bones you could see, my arm was hanging off, my leg, everything was hanging off. Yeah, it was a lot of pain, but bro, when they put me on that stretcher, and trying to like pick up like body parts that are literally already falling off and
Mm-hmm.
trying to put it all together on a stretcher, oh my gosh, I like like it's just the pain was just it was I don't know I don't even have words to like explain how bad it was, like how bad it hurt, like everything on my left side was, oh my gosh, it just hurt so bad, it was just so painful.
So let's talk about let's talk about a little bit of the aftermath. So from that point, again, I had already outlined like everything I was going through at that point in time. And like I mentioned like just going back to church for a reason, because you might be the person who I prayed for the most,
Really?
like in that period of time. Because like why was I there?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You like searching for answers almost.
So but and you say that, and I agree with you, because at that point I was literally trying to figure out like what am I doing here? Like what is my point? Not at your accident, like here. You know what I'm saying? Nothing's working for me. I ruined school. I wasted my time. My mom is not doing well. Da 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 da. And I was questioning everything. And that moment changed my life, because it happened at a point in time where I was like here or there. Like I could have went one way or I could have went another way. And when you said you were looking for comfort, like for me, I've never I've thought this, but I've never been arrogant enough to say like, yo, me being there made that situation, for lack of a better term, a little bit better.
Yeah. No, it did though.
And for me, that was God telling me like, yo, this is what you need, that little push to know that you are somebody, right? But I remember like after that, like that's when I started teaching. Like randomly, like my pastor calls me, was like, yo, this school is looking for a black role model, you know, and like I was this close to giving up faith. To your point, like you were like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. There's no way. You're looking at everything that's happening. The
Yeah.
blood, the arm, the foot, the
Yeah.
whole left side. I didn't even know that. And you're thinking to yourself, there's no way. And that's exactly how I felt. Like the way that you looked, how gruesome it looked, how you felt, that's exactly how my life felt. So when we get to this point and you saying like looking for that comfort, like that makes me feel a whole lot better, because I know that oddly enough, that was a comforting factor for me, knowing that in a time where my friend needed someone,
Yeah.
I was there, because I felt useless at that point in time.
Yeah. No, well, this is truly your reassurance, because I honestly started to like, as things were like moving so fast, I think I started to come to terms with like, all right, like, this really might be it. But I was looking for like that comfort, as in like, all right, he's here. He knows people I know.
Right.
So if people need to know what happened, no one's going to keep guessing. They will know exactly what happened. So I felt comfort in that because, like I said, I started to come to terms with like, these are my last seconds. Like I started to come to terms with that, like, very, I mean, it is like, I don't know
Yeah.
how to put it, but it's just like what I started to think.
Bro, listen, as someone who was there, I could totally understand why you would think that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you said you saw your stomach on the ground, I've said that exact sentence, and I told you like no one knows what I'm talking about. I'm like,
Yeah.
his stomach was on the ground.
Yeah.
They're like, nah, you've never seen someone's stomach. I have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I
It's a
can't.
wild thing.
And I'm not going to be like, bro, you're tripping when you say, yeah, I didn't think I was going to make it. I bet. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So, I believe we left off. You said you were feeling like you weren't going to make it.
Yeah,
So,
and I was looking for comfort in you because, as crazy as it sounds, and I know it's hard for people to fathom, but this is just the honest truth. Me starting to come with the terms that I'm not going to be here tomorrow,
mm-hmm.
and that Tom knows that whoever I know, he could get the word out to, whoever I would want to get it out to. You know what I mean? Like if my parents needed to know, whoever needed to know, I didn't want them guessing what might have happened to me. Tom was here. You could do it. You know what I mean? So that's what I started to come to terms with. Like I said, I thought it was my last seconds, last couple of minutes, whatever, last hour, whatever it may be. But I thought this was like genuinely the end.
So let's talk about when your family gets there, right?
Right.
So I remember your sister got there first. What did she tell you? Like, what's her side?
So I'll tell you like my side as far as like my mom, dad, and my sister, if that's okay with you. So
mm-hmm.
what I know from from what I've heard is I get into the accident and then obviously I get moved to Mullen School, which is down the road, right? And I get on the helicopter down there.
I thought it was Timber Creek. I thought they landed a helicopter in Timber Creek.
So what I originally remember, and I could be wrong because I was going through it,
right.
But I think when I heard the EMT, they were originally saying behind target, and then I remember them saying
I remember that.
and then I remember them saying not enough space behind target, and then they said what's the next closest spot, and I think TC was like starting to do the solar panel stuff, so I don't think so I think that's why then they ended up deferring it to Mullen because they were like it has that like big field, big parking lot where they could land. So,
and there's road access too. So
yeah, exactly. I'm like literally right down the road. So the thing I know from my end, and obviously like we'll go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell Aunt?
I don't remember.
Okay, because this is what I've heard. So I'll just do my parents first, and then I'll do my sister last. Because like I was telling you a little before, I could usually keep my like emotions under with my parents, but I don't know when it comes to my sister and like I don't know, it's hard because we're super close.
Right.
But so my dad, he was home. He was starting to like think like it's like almost 6. Like where is he at? My mom was coming back from the gym, so she would work out at Future Fitness. So she was coming like from like that 42 entrance, like back towards Cobblestone. But as she's coming home, she's seeing all these cop cars fly by her. So she's, as like crazy as it is, like that mom feeling, she was just like something just isn't right.
Right.
She just like felt it in her gut, like something isn't right, and she was like feeling anxiety until all the way she got home, where my sister and my dad and everyone was. So what I heard from my sister was, and what I've heard from my dad was that I think you called Aunt or texted Aunt and told him what went on. And Aunt was in Arizona with Reef, and they were out. But Reef, he's a great friend of Aunt. He pretty much just put Aunt back on a plane to like Jersey super quick. He's like, "You gotta go back. I got you, no worries." But I think before that happened, Aunt called my sister and just like broke her the news. Like, look, your brother got in a really bad accident. This is where it's at. I'm on my way home now. Just stay strong, blah, blah, blah. And I think, everyone starts to freak out a little bit. So I think that's when my sister and dad first came to check out the accident because they didn't want my mom to come. I think that's what it was. So they came first. But by the time they got to that spot, I was already at Mullen. So I think what my dad originally told me was my sister like sat on the curb for a second. She let out a couple tears. And then how strong she was, she gets back up and she's like, okay, we're going to the next spot.
Mm-hmm.
So they go back home. I'm getting on the chopper at Moon, so I'm ready. I'm getting on the helicopter at Moon, and they're driving by, and I think they're ready to go to Cooper because that's the only trauma center around us. Like, so obviously that's the only spot I'm going. So they're getting ready to go, but they see me getting on the helicopter and they're like freaking out. They're like yelling, like, that's my son, that's my brother, blah, blah, blah. And the cop's like, look, protocol, we can't have you on the helicopter, but I could fly you down to Cooper right away. And my sister's snappy. She's feisty. So she's like snapping on the cop. She's like, no, I need to go on there right now and all this stuff. But obviously it didn't happen. But my parents were like, okay, we'll drive to Cooper. So they ended up driving to Cooper. And that's what I know from my side, at least up until that point. And then we could go into the rest later. But I don't know. You tell me.
Remember I said, like, I was telling the people, like, you need to contact his family. Mm-hmm. Now, I would have never said that if I had the information.
Right.
So I remember reaching out, and I guess it had to be Aunt.
Yeah.
It had to be Aunt. Because remember I said earlier, like, me and Aunt were mad cool at that point in time.
Right.
So, I guess it was Aunt. And I remember when your sister got there and your dad got there, you are right. Your dad and your sister got there at the same time. I just remember seeing your sister first. But like you said, you weren't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like they had like just taken you. So they, at that point, had no idea what was going on. Like they didn't know where you were. They didn't know anything. And they were like, your sister, again, like you said, being who she is, she's like trying to figure this all out. And I remember they were like, no, he's at Mullen or he's at wherever. I remember them saying Timber Creek. I don't know. Because at that point, once you were gone, I had no information.
Yeah.
They had already moved us across the street. But I remember your sister and your dad like just leaving. And then I remember them saying you were going to Cooper because now, so, okay, that's all over with. Like, you're gone. Your mom, your sister and your dad are gone. But like now, crime scene is there. So now I'm like, oh, this is why I said it got dark, because it was well into the evening, well into the nighttime, and they got the whole Sicklerville Road blocked off. You can't go in, you can't go out. They got everybody out there taking pictures, forensics, everything. Yo, it was insane. And like you could just hear people saying like, yeah, they're taking him to Cooper. Da, 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 da. Who was he? What's going on? And I'm just sitting there with my mom in the CVS parking lot. And she walked over and like, because I had been there that whole day, which felt like literally an entire day, like the neighbors, they were like, people would ask them and they would like reference me. Like, who was he? And I'm like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Because like, it wasn't like something to be like, oh yeah, that was my man. You know, he was just riding his bike and da. It was like, yo, you don't know what I saw his stomach. You know what I'm saying? That's what I kept going back to. But yeah, that was like one of the longest nights ever. But I remember your sister getting there. And it's funny you brought up when she said she sat on the curb, because I remember her doing that. And it was so weird because I'm like, yo. And then she just snapped. Like she just snapped. That was it. She was just like, yo, we need to figure out what's going on, my big bro. Yeah. And I knew that energy because I know like you are truly big bro. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And like all the emotions, all the sadness, that's going out the window. We need to figure out what's going on. Because we got to make sure my big bro is good. And I remember your dad was just like your dad's such a stand-up guy. Like he was just like I don't want to say cooperating, because it's not like something happened to where he had to cooperate. Yeah. But like, he was just like, I just want to know what's going on. Yeah. Where do I need to go? Yeah. What do I need to do? And like, it was like, yo, it was your family, man. Like, your family. I'm someone who like values family, but I don't have like the greatest of families. So seeing that play out the way it did, where like your sister was like, I don't know how many people like who will be listening to this or watching this like know your sister, obviously, but like Kendra is the sweetest person ever. Yeah. You would never think like from the outside looking in, she would be like, yo, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But she was there. Like she wanted to like almost orchestrate the whole thing because she needed to know what was going on. Yeah. And like the cool thing looking back, like, is like just watching your dad like let her operate.
Yeah.
Because
No, that's true.
like when you say she was sitting on the curb, I don't want to speak for her obviously, but like it was almost like God was like, yo, get up. He's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Just go do what you gotta do.
Now she's a uber responsible, and she doesn't let, like, as humans we all face emotions, but
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't let it alter her like decision making,
Yeah.
and she's good at that. So that's why I think my both parents know that she's way better than I am at that, and I can fully admit that I'm not as responsible. I definitely wasn't as mature as her, but they know, like, when she's in that mode, like, she's a good leader. Like, she knows what she has to do. She'll get it done.
And
So I
she
think that's
definitely
what it
did.
was. Yeah.
And I think she was just as important for your dad as your dad was for her
Yeah. No. Yep. Right. Right.
because I was just watching it happen. And again, it's like, see, and that's the thing, like, you and I know that we know each other. Your sister and your dad, at that point, they knew me because I was around all the time.
Yeah.
But no one else understood the dynamic of what was happening. Right?
Yeah.
So when they got there, I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Because now, number one, they can know. Because
Right.
I was freaking out because I'm like, yo, who is going to contact these people? Because they were, I mean, and they were doing their job. You know what I'm saying? Whose job is it to make the phone call? I don't know. Whose job is to make sure this young man remains alive?
Right.
I know what you're doing, but I'm also thinking his people need to know, and that was like one of the most important things to me, because I know where you live.
Yeah.
I know it's really not that hard, but I also don't want to leave. That was another thing I was dealing with too. I
Yeah.
didn't want to leave because and I guess for my own selfish reasons, like I just didn't want to. I didn't want to not know that you were good, or
Yeah.
and again, I never knew up until, the aftermath. But in that moment, like I wanted to be there with you the whole time. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get that. Like, I understand that.
So when they got there, it was like, okay, like this is, and then like I said, just seeing how they handled it, like, and I remember them like zooming off, like
Yeah.
all right,
On to the next
next
part.
stop, let's go,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
So let's get into the next part. So because I told you once they took you off, it then became like CSI, and they were the cameras and everything like that. The lights like this in the background, but like lighting up the whole street looks like daylight, and they're forensics is taking samples of the glass and everything. Nobody can touch anything, and there's like a million people outside, and everyone's asking questions,
Right.
but you're gone. So
Yeah.
where are you at this point?
So yeah. So this is crazy. So like I said, I'm still awake.
You were awake
Like,
this whole time.
so yeah. I mean, literally until they took me to the hospital. I mean, like, I'll just pick up like where I left off, where I was getting onto the helicopter. So I'm on the helicopter. They're starting to take off. They're like giving me IVs and stuff, and I'm freaking out. I'm in hella pain, man. Everything on my left side is broken. I'm in so much pain. Like I said, I guess I'll go through the injuries later, but from what I know so far, like, literally everything just hurts so bad. So I'm like, I worked at a pharmacy at the time, so I'm like screaming, like, give me some perks, like whatever it
Yeah.
is, like give me that, so I don't feel pain anymore. Like, I didn't want to feel anything. I remember landing at Cooper's Trauma Center, and I remember like getting off the heli and like all the like wind rushing in your face. I remember getting in, and I still remember the trauma doctor seeing me, and she's like talking to me, like she's talking to the like nurses and everyone else as if I'm not awake.
Right.
And she looks down, and she literally says, she said, "How are you still awake?" And I'm like, "I don't know, just put me." I'm literally like begging her. I'm like, "Can you just please put me to sleep? Like, can you do something?" And
Yeah.
she's like, "Yes, yes, like we're gonna put you to sleep now." And I remember, like, right up until that point, I remember like them getting like all the cuffs on me, like blood pressure, all that stuff, and her saying like, "Okay, we're gonna put you to sleep now." And from what I remember is, so I lost so much blood in that accident, so they couldn't go right into surgery to try to go and fix stuff because they need to get my blood level. It's called hemoglobin. They had to get my
Yeah.
hemoglobins right.
Right.
So
So you get a transfusion?
yeah, so I
Yeah.
had to get a pretty big transfusion because I lost a lot of blood.
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
So yeah, and then after they got that right, I think my first surgery was like 10, 12 hours, like, pretty long, pretty extensive.
So
If,
wait,
you know,
what was the first surgery?
Yeah, so first surgery was stitching everything back up. I think, that was the biggest thing.
In your abdomen?
Yeah,
Okay.
abdomen. They wanted to. Yeah, and they wanted to put plates in where everything was broken. They wanted to put the screws in where like all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Midway through the surgery, this is like late into the night now. Like this surgery is taking place like late at night. Like the
Yeah,
trauma team's operating. Like this is probably like 1, 2, 3 in the morning type stuff.
absolutely.
A lot of my friends are there. Like they were initially there, like at Cooper. They're all there, like huddled around my parents. But as it started to get late, my dad, his brother, and my sister were kind of like, "Look, we don't want you guys to keep waiting. It's gonna be a long surgery." Um, they were like, you guys could go home. We'll let you know. You guys could come back the next day. We
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate it. So everyone kind of didn't want to leave, obviously, because as crazy as it sounds, like my parents are parents to all my friends.
Yeah.
It's not like
No, I
it's
know.
just like my parents. Like all my friends love you know what I mean? So they felt like odd leaving, but I think when they said that, they were like, okay, like we'll come back the next day. I think everyone still want to know what's going on. So I think midway through the surgery, the doctor comes out, the trauma surgeon comes out, and he says, we got to amputate his arm, and he tells my dad that, and my dad, like, I guess, kind of doesn't know what to think. Um,
This is the same day.
yeah, it's the same day, and or whatever the
Yeah,
morning,
yeah,
the
yeah,
next, you know
yeah.
what I mean. And my dad like calls my mom, and my mom's like on the phone freaking out, like, no, please don't take his arm, blah blah blah. And this is why I say my sister's so strong and she's such a vital part. Because my sister, like, literally in the midst of like my mom freaking out, my dad freaking out. So let me just go through this. They needed to amputate my arm because the way I slid onto the field or slid onto the road,
Yeah.
I would have caught an infection if they kept my arm because of all that rubble, dirt I went through. I would have ended up getting septic, which like shuts down all your organs.
Yeah.
They're like, the smartest thing to do is get rid of this thing. So they were like freaking out about like me losing my arm, but in the midst of it all, my sister's like, who cares? He's gonna be alive if we let it go. So she's the one who tells the doctor, like, okay, that's fine, like go do what you have to do type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So so it was like, amputating my arm, stitching everything back together. They had an X fix on my foot to put it back together. So pretty much that means it was ripped off. They had it on, like they had it under wraps, but they had these like beams going through my foot to keep it together.
Oh yeah,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So they didn't like put it on yet, but they had like this metal piece keeping it together for at the time being. So yeah, it was pretty much like putting screws in, putting plates in, putting things back together, stitching me up, and stuff like that. So that was the first surgery, 10 hours, and then after that surgery, they pretty much knew like that pain I went through, like I'm not going to be able to deal with this. So I was in a coma for like about a week and a half type thing, medically induced, not like I
No,
went.
but I never knew that.
Yeah, so pretty much like they knew like that pain wasn't gonna go away like that. So they were like, it's just better if we just put him in a medically induced coma and we monitor him, because like if we don't, it's gonna be really bad. And I could like honestly later when we talk about it, like more or less when I wake up, I could tell you like that was the right decision, because when I woke up from that coma, man, it was wild.
So wait. So night of,
Yes.
they already know, got to get rid of his arm.
Yeah.
Your foot is not completely attached, and they like semi-attach it also night of.
Yeah, through like some beams. So their whole logic behind that was like, I'm a young 21-year-old kid. They don't want me to be a double amputee, and that was their goal. Hey, if I had to pick, I'm not gonna lie, and I say this all the time, I way rather would have lost my foot or leg than my arm. But I'm not mad at the situation. Like, I get it.
That's what I said when I was looking at your foot. I'm like, oh, there's no way. And again, like when I found out you lost your arm, because I think the first picture I saw was, it might have been Kendra who posted something, and I think like someone was like feeding you, and I saw like your arm wrapped up. I'm like,
I have a crazy story about that too, actually. Okay.
Bro, I'm like, wait, so, but I'm thinking like, but does he still have his foot? Because that's what I remember seeing.
Yeah, dude, it's I have the crazy story when they go through the injuries, but I will get to that because I want to like walk through like after the coma and stuff.
So you're in the coma for how long?
About a week.
Okay.
About a week and a half, and I'll tell you again, I don't want to give off like this false narrative that I was like a strong 21-year-old super athletic. I wasn't, but I was like, I would work out. I was like a normal like 21. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we were still active to a certain extent, but none of that mattered when I came out of that coma. Literally, I couldn't even like clench, like I couldn't even do this with my hand. Like
Mm.
my body was so weak, and it just continued to get weaker throughout when I was in the hospital. But that was like the beginning. But yeah, I was in there for about a week and a half under
And that was
in a
that
coma.
was like pure recovery. That wasn't they weren't doing anything else while you were in a coma. They were just like letting you kind of rock out for a little bit.
Yeah, just let me rest. Pretty much like letting my body heal a little bit, which
Mm.
well, when we talk about it in a little bit, which really didn't matter because later on, like some certain things happened. I should have probably been in a coma longer, but
Mm.
yeah, I was in a coma about a week. It was kind of just like let the pain levels go down. I'll say this: when I woke up from that coma, I'll tell you the medications I was on just so you could like imagine what
Mm.
pain they were trying to control. So I'll just run you
Yeah, go
through it.
ahead.
So there's a drug called fentanyl, which is
Oh my
100,
goodness.
100 times stronger than heroin, and
Yeah,
we know
yeah,
the
yeah.
heroin epidemic we're in.
Right.
So fentanyl is 100 times stronger than heroin, and then there's a drug called Dilaudid, which is
Mm-hmm.
50 times stronger than heroin. And perks are strong, like pills. Like
Yeah.
Dilaudid and fentanyl can be IV,
Right.
so they hit quicker. But oxy and like perks was a good way to try to control pain through a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I was on I was on 30 milligrams of perk, which is the highest perk.
Right.
I was on fentanyl and I was on Dilaudid all at the same time. And on top of that, I was on alprazolam, which is
Mm-hmm.
Xanax. And on top of that, I was on another CNS depressant, which is like a nervous system depressant, which was Ativan. So I was on 5 like nervous system depressants, which could like, if you're not going through that, like this is how I explain it to people. If you're not going through that pain, you're not making it alive because those pills are and those drugs will literally shut down your body. But if
Yeah.
you're actually going through that pain, it like they work. But let me rephrase that. They do what they're supposed to, but I was still feeling pain.
Right.
So even after all that, and I was on high, like I'm not telling you I was like on little doses. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
high doses of these things, and I still was feeling pain, like really bad, really bad.
So so yeah. After that, let's walk through the timeline. Like, what's the next couple weeks,
so
months?
yeah, this is crazy. I guess so I wake up from the coma, and a lot of people they just want to see me, like
Mm-hmm.
obviously like my mom, dad, they want to see me. They've probably seen me the most though because they're immediate family. I mean, I was dating somebody at the time, and my best friend Kevin ended up telling her about the accident. I'm not gonna lie, like you're dating someone at that age. I really wanted to see her, so she's one of the first people I wanted to see, and I think she
Mm-hmm.
felt the same way. So I wanted to see her. The issues coming out of the coma though, it was like I couldn't lift a spoon, I couldn't feed myself, bro. I couldn't like move my arm by myself. But I think what actually happened first was I come out the coma, and this is what I mean as God puts the right people in your life. My cousin, she's a director of anesthesiology at UPenn, so
Mm-hmm.
she's done trauma accidents at UPenn. She's gone through, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not like she's just some doctor. Like she does this type of stuff. She's in my corner, so she would call me every morning when I was in coma, talk to the trauma team, ask them, what's the moves for today, what's the plans for today.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so day comes, I'm coming out of my coma, they say, and the doctors are telling my parents like, we're gonna go over the injuries with him. We're gonna tell your son the injuries, and my parents are asking my cousin like, who do you think should tell him the injuries? Us or? And she's like, I would let the doctors tell him the injuries because if he has any questions, he can ask them and they could give them the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So they come in. I remember it's like bright and early. Trauma teams make their rotations super early in the morning, like 6, 7. So, and I'm in pain, so I'm up. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. So they come in and they're like getting ready to go over my injuries. And this is the funny part. So you said you saw my arm like in wraps, right? Like my
Yeah.
left arm under wraps. I didn't know it was gone. It felt funny. It felt funny, but I thought it felt funny because the last time I looked at it, it wasn't attached. So I was like, oh, it probably feels funny. It's like, because I had that phantom feeling. So it feels like
Yeah. I was
it's
gonna
there.
ask you about that.
Yeah, so it feels like it's there. I can feel like my fingers and stuff, but it doesn't feel the same. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but we can definitely get more of that later.
And
So
I'm
I had that.
left-handed, so I couldn't even imagine. Like, I
Yeah,
would be
so
devastated.
it's like it feels like it's there, but it's not. So I'm just like, I've never felt that before, obviously. So I'm like, oh, it's probably still there. It's under wraps. I'm just like, it's just under wraps, and it feels funny because I got into a bad accident. So I just like really didn't think much of it until they went over my injuries, and they're like, okay, we're here to like go over your injuries. And like even before they go through that, and this like mindset is like a huge thing. Like having a positive attitude is a very important thing. They
Yeah.
come in, they ask, or like, okay, we're gonna go through your injuries, and the first thing I literally tell them, I'm like, okay, wait, before you go through them, I'm like, do I have any like brain injuries? And they're like, no, you don't have any brain injuries. And then I'm like, do I have any spinal cord injuries? And they're like, no, you don't have any spinal cord injuries. And then I'm just like a relief went through my body. I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna be all right. Like no
Right.
matter what it is, I think I'll be all right. And they're like, okay, but we still need. I'm like, okay, whatever. And they're just like, pretty much everything on my left side was like literally fractured. Like my pelvis, they were, and like not just like fractured, like broken. It was like broken into pieces. So like my
Mm-hmm.
left hip, my pelvis, my femur, my fibia, my tibia, all of that was just all broken into pieces. Every bone in my left foot was all broken, and they told me that they had to amputate my arm. So they kind of just went through that. I mean, it was hard to hear, but I think I felt a sense of like relief when I was like, okay, I still have my brain, I still have my beautiful face, no face injuries, no spinal cord injuries.
Yeah. Still get the
That was the biggest
girls.
thing to me, man. And we'll get into that later, but a lot of this comes down to like perspective and stuff. So, um, yeah, I mean, I was obviously it sucks, but I wasn't like bawling my eyes out or anything. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is what it is, and this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah, you definitely seem like you've handled this very well. Again, I couldn't imagine being in that situation, but I truly understand the mindset thing of like are my basic bodily functions still here? Do I have my mind? Do I have my mobility in my spine?
Yeah. The, like I said, later when we get down to like when I'm starting to come out the hospital or
Mm-hmm.
almost out of the like rehab and stuff, perspective starts to set in, and really like life is all about that at the end of the day. It's literally everything you do, and it's all going to be based on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go in with not the right attitude and just thinking the worst things about everything, you're not going to get very far. And I started to like learn that very quickly. So
So, all right. So they tell you the injuries and now you know everything. Um, but like what are you still going through surgeries after
yeah,
that?
so this was the issue. In my coma, I was supposed to heal, and the plates were in place, and everything was good, and I could start getting stitched back up. I can't tell you how many setbacks I had while I was in the hospital. And I mean, for me knowing, I just thought, I'd heal, I'd be able to come back home. But the
Mm-hmm.
trauma team knows, the doctors know that it's never just like a straight line and you're
Yeah.
good to come home. It never works like that. There's so many setbacks on the way. So what happened was I ended up catching infection while I was in the hospital, and I needed an ID consult, which means infectious disease.
Right.
And I caught a bug from where I landed, and it was all on my plates, and it was like going through my body. So I was going through surgery every other day.
Mm.
I would go into surgery, bro. And this was hell because I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat anything. I've already not eaten for a while because I was in a coma. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I was going in surgery every other day. And when you're going to surgery, you don't have the appetite to eat after. You're in so much pain.
Yeah.
They just ripped your body open, cut it open with a knife, took out the plates. So what they were doing was they would take out all the plates and screws, everything they already put in, wash them all out, and then put them back in. And they were doing this every day. There was like at least 2-3 weeks time where my body wasn't stitched closed. They would just leave it open. So for 3 weeks, I'm just like, in pain. I'm not eating. I'm not doing anything except being in pain. I'm just like, honestly though, let me put this into perspective though. I couldn't wait till they took me into surgery because I got no sleep when I wasn't in there.
Yeah.
I was in so much
Yeah.
pain, and I told Bobby this, and Bobby still can't like fathom this. I tell them all the time, I couldn't wait till they took me to surgery, bro. I literally couldn't wait. I'm like, is this surgery time yet? Because I'm in so much pain, just knock me out. I don't want to feel anything.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel anything right now. I don't want to think. I don't want to, it was bad. Like, it was really bad. So.
Do you know the exact number of surgeries that you've had up until this point?
Yeah, I probably had 27.
My goodness.
Yeah, I've had a lot. A lot. But yeah, like I said, I couldn't wait till they took me into surgery. I'm just like, I can't do this, man. It hurts so bad. It was hell, man. It was hell.
So you lose your arm, your foot is in a brace at that point, in some faction, right?
Yeah.
What's going on with your abdomen though? Like what where are they working on with that? Because
Yeah,
like
so
again, it was on the ground.
no,
So
I know. The craziest part is I like looked down one day and I remember the trauma team coming. It's like I look, man, I'm high off meds, so I'm like, saying anything.
mm-hmm.
I'm like, do I not have a belly button anymore? And the guy like starts to laugh and he's like, no, it's still there. It's just like all scarred up. So, but actually thinking back, the stomach part was like not the worst thing they had to do. It was like
Really?
fairly one of the easier things they had to do. It was kind of like, as crazy as it sounds, it's kind of just like putting it back in and then just putting everything back together.
That's crazy.
Stuff. The only reason it was an issue because they had to go through my stomach and it had to stay open because they had to go through my stomach to reach like my pelvis and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the issue, like putting the screws in and all that stuff. So I think that was the thing. It's funny story, like through this all, I was getting surgeries every other day. And one of my trauma doctors, he's leaving the hospital late at night after a long shift.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom and dad catch him on the way out. They're just like, what's going on? What's going to be? And he's just telling them, he was like, look, your son's a super strong kid. I'm trying to put 2 screws in and your son needs like 4 in his ankle, which is like unheard of. So he's a fighter. He's going to be okay. You guys just have to stay strong with them. But yeah, I'm pretty much like going to surgeries like every other day. The abdomen part was like as crazy as it sounds. It literally was like the easiest out of everything else. It was just like putting it back in place, and that was it.
Well, yeah, when you say every foot, I mean every bone in your foot is broken and your pelvic, and I didn't know. I mean, how could I not know? But like I didn't know your hip was all messed up, your pelvis was all messed up. So I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So obviously, everything surgery wise. After all of that goes well, or can I assume that it goes well?
I mean, yeah, to a certain extent, yeah.
And then, so at what point are you in rehab? Like, what month are we in now?
Yeah, so I'm probably...
Or when you get out of the hospital, obviously.
I'm probably in the hospital for at least until like September, a little bit past, like maybe it's past September 20th. I'm like still healing. And then this was the issue. I wasn't allowed to bear weight on my foot for at least 3 months because all the bones weren't healed and it just wasn't like I couldn't put any weight on it. It's not time to put weight on it. It's a severe injury. So it was hard finding a good rehab off the jump. So instead of like going to a rehab that was really meant for me in the beginning, I kind of more or less went to like a nursing home / rehab. So I was like around all old people who were like on their last days type. Yeah. I mean, it was a really like beautiful facility, but I wasn't really like supposed to be there. So I probably go there like a little bit after a month, and I'm like there, and I'm kind of like just learning how to like stand up again, just like simple stuff like that. Nothing like nothing walking or nothing even remotely close to that. Just like standing up and down, learning how to do things with one hand, which was like obviously a struggle in its own, and just stuff like that for quite some time, and then
I'm telling you. Because being someone who's left-handed, I could not imagine losing my left arm. I mean, an arm at all.
Yeah, well, thank gosh I'm right?
Yo, for real. So yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Like, because I don't really want to like go through all the rehab stuff you did. Because like my whole thing is thank God you made it through that situation, right? So, and just by you outlining all the injuries and all the surgeries that you had, we know that it was a tedious and very deliberate process for you to be able to get back to some semblance of yourself. So now what I want to know is like, what has life been for you like since this? Like as someone who, like you just said, having to learn how to only use one arm and stuff like that. Like what has it been like since then?
So like I was in the hospital / rehab from like August 15, 2016 all the way. I didn't come home until February 28, 2017. So that's 6+ months not being home. And my thing when I first came back, a lot of it was, man, I missed out on life. I missed out on college. I feel a couple years behind. But my cousin would always tell me, he's like, you shouldn't feel like that because I promise you've learned some things in the last 6 months that we won't learn until we're 70, 60. You have a knowledge about a lot of things. And he was right. So just like when I was in the hospital and stuff, and I was telling you about perspective, when I was in the rehab, when I was getting ready to come home and I'll do stuff, when I was at a good rehab, and I actually live like right across this rehab now in Philly. Like I'm living, like I could see it from here, which is also
you're
crazy.
In Philly now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I met a girl. She was 18, and I would do art when I was in rehab. I would draw a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
really, it's how I took my mind off things. And she comes into the art room on a wheelchair, but it's the wheelchair that you have to like control with your hand. Like it's like electric wheelchair. And she's 18, bro, and she's got a spinal cord injury, and she's never gonna be able to walk again. She's never gonna be able to use the bathroom herself again. And I'm just like, I'm complaining. I've been
Mm-hmm.
complaining the last 6 months, and I don't know why. Because like I'm gonna be able to walk again one day. I'm gonna be able to
Yeah.
go to the gym again one day. I'm gonna be able to be mobile again one day by myself. So it just a lot of it just like was put into perspective. So when I got home, I think a lot of like what I learned from the hospital and all that kind of like just came together. Because even so, like I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's super strong. He's a super strong kid," but I don't want people to get it twisted. I cried myself to sleep probably damn near every night.
Mm-hmm.
Like no lie. Like for those 6 months, I did. And my dad cried with me. My mom cried with me, and that's the truth of it all. I didn't want to be there. My friends would come to visit for that meantime, but when they left, I'm like, damn, they were able to get in their car,
Right.
walk to their car, go home, kiss their mom on the cheek, and go good night. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do that. I could barely use the bathroom by myself. So I just hated where I was at, and this is like where a lot of like perspective and faith comes into play. My dad just told me to read the book of Job. He was like, just keep reading that book of Job over and over again, because Job went through those same trials and tribulations and tests, and he was like, look, you have it bad. Obviously, you have it bad, but you don't have it the worst.
You know
So
what? I don't want to cut you off, but you
no,
know
go.
what's very interesting about the Book of Job, and I listen to a lot of like religious podcasts and stuff
Yeah,
like this, and um I was listening to something the other day. It might have actually been yesterday. If I got my no, it was Thursday, and they were I forget it was like talking about gambling in the Super Bowl, and like and they were like, you don't think God takes bets on you guys,
yeah,
right? And they were like, look at Job. Like Satan literally like bet God, and God took a bet on us. And it's so interesting that you bring that up, because you can look at this entire situation as simply that. God, he took you through hell and back just for you to know that I got you.
yeah, no, 100%. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say my faith was unwavering at all times, bro.
As
There was a lot of
Job,
times.
hey
Yeah,
man, it
and I
happens.
like I said, I went through the struggle, but I'm not gonna lie. Every night, I read my Bible, I prayed every night. So it was hard to keep focus on one day I'll be out of here, and it's hard to think that when you're so far away. But my parents kept me on the right track. Like I said, it's all about who you have around you and
Yeah.
faith and all that stuff. So I knew it would happen, but yeah, I mean, I think that all put in perspective. I think I like totally misregarded your question, but
No, you're good, bro. You're good.
but
Because we were talking about like just afterwards, like what does life look like afterwards? And you talked
yeah.
about the
So like
girl.
after like all that learning, all that, I'd come home. First couple of weeks is like still weird. I'm still like learning everything. Like I'm still not showering by myself. I mean, like I'll be honest, like your parents gotta help you take your shower, and some people could look at it as like as being humiliating, but I didn't give
Mm-hmm.
a man. I was just happy to be home, bro. I don't
Yeah.
care. So that happened for a while. Then when I finally did start like being able to shower by myself, I'm like trying to go to reach for stuff with my left hand, and I'm like totally forgetting the fact that it's not even there anymore.
But do
So
you feel like in those moments, did you feel like you could, like if something was happening,
yeah,
but then it just didn't
yeah,
happen?
exactly. So
Oh
I'm
my
like thinking I
gosh.
could like reach for like the washcloth with my like left hand, and I'm
Yeah.
like totally not doing it type stuff. So it took some adjusting for
Yeah.
sure. A lot of it was like just starting to do normal things again. Like I had to start walking again. I couldn't just sit in bed. Like even
Yeah.
if I was depressed, like I'm not gonna lie, I was still depressed when I came back, rightfully so. But doing stuff again was important. Like
Yeah.
trying to do things again by yourself was important. That's what me get back to like wherever I am today. Like, walking again. Like, bro, when I first came back from the hospital, I could maybe stand for like 30 seconds and then walk maybe like 20 feet. And then I would have to like sit down, take a break. Now I'm like going to the gym. I'm like, walking around Philly, like all these things like I used to do before that I thought would take forever to do again.
Yeah.
But it was like all the little things. And then beyond that, obviously I wanted to start the nonprofit.
Yeah, I'm so curious about that.
yeah, so I had a lot of support when I was in the hospital from friends, from family, from like the churches.
Mm-hmm.
In the Indian community, we have our own Indian church because they do the sermon in like our language.
Right.
So I got a lot of support from them. I just got a support from so many people, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And my recovery was based on that support. I probably wouldn't have gone through if I didn't have all that support. And I can't even fathom, like, for people who don't have that support, how they get through. And another thing that was like weighing on my mind was I was 21 when I went through this. I wasn't like 10. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
12. I was an adult almost, and I had trouble going through it. I had trouble
Yeah.
going back, so I couldn't imagine being 8, 9, 10, whatever, however young you are, going through cancer treatments, all these things. So that's kind of where that nonprofit idea came from. I was like, I have an opportunity to give back. I've learned a lot. I can relate to a lot of these kids.
So what are some of the things that you're in it? It's called the AJ Gohil Foundation, correct?
Yes, the AJ Gohil Family Foundation. Yes.
A family foundation. Pardon me. So what are some of the things that you guys have done?
So we've done work with the Ronald McDonald House. Like the first thing I did was we donated gifts to the Ronald McDonald House. I think this was the Christmas of 2017, and then it kind of grew into there. I know I wanted to do more, so I'd get more involved.
Mm-hmm.
Then we cooked meals for the families at Ronald McDonald House. So we cooked for like about 100 people. We've done gifts at Shriners. We've covered the costs of like the families staying at the Ronald McDonald House for a month. Like, we've done a good amount of things. And as time goes on, like even when I further myself in my career, like my biggest point is going to be to give back. You know what I mean? A lot of people gave to me and they didn't have to. You know? So I don't know. That's the way I look at it. And a lot of people are like, do you wish the accident never happened? And I'll never lie, and I'll be very honest with you. As crazy as it sounds, I'm okay with the fact that accident happened. I'm understanding, and it's okay. Like, I think it should have happened, and this is what's supposed to happen, because whatever I was doing before wasn't working, and I wouldn't have had the motivation I have now if I didn't go through that accident. Before, I was just like 21-year-old kid, super into myself, doing blah, blah, blah. I wasn't where I'm at now. And I think I needed that accident to happen to get where I'm at now. So
this is where I'm going to bring it back to me for a second, because I always think about like that year, like 2016,
right.
Like might have been the worst year of my life, just speaking frankly. But would I ever say I wish that year went a different way?
Yeah.
Dude, because like I meant to like bring these specifics up earlier. Like I had a very bad girl problem, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let your imagination wander. But from the perspective of like the volume of women who I was involving myself with, and then like the types of behaviors that I was involving myself in. Like when we were in high school, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, and do nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I would be in Philly with like certain girls getting high all the time, and like,
really,
like
just stuff that's not you.
Yeah, man, nothing like super crazy. I wasn't like doing crack or nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to paint that picture.
No,
like,
but you just still wasn't doing what you.
Yeah, but
really
I wasn't. What I was doing at that point in time was not working. You said it explicitly, and that is exactly how it was. Because I was finding myself like just doing things that I knew were not going to get me anywhere. And it wasn't you didn't make the decision to get into this accident.
Right.
I didn't make the decision to pay attention. Like all of a sudden it just happened. Like God was like, yo, wake up, pay attention. This is what's happening. And it was, I liken it to the same moment when my coach called me in the office. It was like, I didn't volunteer for that.
Right.
But these are the things that happen to us because we have to get it. Right. And it could be something as simple as my coach calling me in the office, or, me waking up one day and saying, yo, let's go back to church or whatever. Or it could be something as drastic as you getting into an accident, becoming an amputee. But that part of it doesn't matter. It's like, as crazy as that is to say,
No, it doesn't.
It's like, it's the initiation factor.
Yeah, what's that quote? It's like 10% what happens to you and 90% reaction or something like that. And that's literally the truth. That is the most honest thing ever.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because yeah, I know what happened. I know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm more interested in? What you've done afterwards.
Yeah.
Because
no,
you've done phenomenal things.
Thank you.
Since then. Like, and it's funny because, like I told you a couple weeks ago, like, I've been a ghost. Like, I don't really keep up with a lot of people from school or whatever.
No, that's fine.
But I always know what's going on, who's doing what. If, like, I feel like it's important for me to know. I see you still cooking. I see you still fly. And again, like, these might seem like shallow things, but for me to know exactly who you are, because we spent like days, years together.
Yeah.
For me to see that you are still doing things and doing other things that you may have never done is phenomenal to me. And that's why, like, when I use the name Thrivers for this podcast, like, that's who you are. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and it could
I
be
appreciate that.
It could be from east to west, whatever the circumstance is that brought you to where you are. Like, you're thriving because of that, and you're thriving in that.
You know, that's cool that you say that. Remember that guy from ESPN? I think his name was Stuart Scott, who had cancer, and his quote was, you know, you beat cancer by doing the things that you still love and not letting it, like, whatever. And honestly, that's true. My biggest thing was, like, you know, my life is never going to be what it was before. I'm never going to run around. I'm never going to play ball with my friends. I'm never going to be able to do that. But whatever I can do, you know, this is the quote for me is always, this is my new normal. This is my new normal life. And I just got to keep doing what I did before. And that's how I beat the situation, you know? So I wanted to cook again. I want to do whatever again, whatever I wanted to do. If I put my mind to it, I just had to do it again. Just so I knew myself, I could do it again. My biggest thing was, like, living on my own. I think my parents were like, how's he going to live on his own? He's got one hand. But I think, like, being able to prove, you know, I could do this. I clean by myself. I cook by myself. I do everything by myself. So it's just, like, really, like, putting your mind to it. It's really, like, how you live your life.
Right.
Which is you beating the situation or losing to the situation.
And I love that quote, because your new normal is extraordinary. And, like, normal isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, no.
It's like you said, it's being a realist. It's knowing, like, this is my new normal. But my new normal can be extraordinary, and it truly is.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. You know, it is funny because, like, when you go back to how we met and being at Timber Creek, think about all the people who we were around at that point in time.
Right.
And how, like, everyone in our friend groups is doing phenomenal things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you got there. It doesn't matter what spurred you to I mean, it does in a sense, but like you said, 10% of life is what happens to you. 90% is how you respond to it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have taken something that most people would look at as, like, the worst thing ever and turned it into such a beautiful thing. And okay, so what are we, 5 years removed from that? Think about that.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years, and you've done so many great things outside of the foundation. Like you just said, you live on your own. You were living your life in a way that works, when some people would never recover from this mentally.
Yeah.
So when you go back to what it is to truly thrive, like, you've thrived because of your mindset.
No,
and again,
100%.
and I tell you, man, like, that day literally saved my life, as odd as that sounds, because just I was so low and my faith was so low. And for you to be in that situation and to call out to me made me feel like I was important. And, like, to just have this conversation now is, like, so surreal, because, like, if it weren't for that accident, I may not have been who I am today. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel you.
So no, I'm just so happy.
It's kind of crazy that you say that, because, like, the day I got in the accident, and I was going through this with, like, Miles and Quan the other day when we were just talking about it. So Miles' mom found out I got in an accident, and she like called him and took one.
She was there.
She okay, so that's how
Yeah,
that
I
happened then.
remember that.
Yeah, so okay, so she was there. So this is what I found out. I was in a couple of group chats, and this is still funny to this day. I was in a couple of group chats, and obviously I can't answer. My phone's broken into pieces. They actually were saying like, "Oh, he passed away." Like they like thought he passed away.
Yeah.
But anyway, like you getting back to the point of that accident changed, your life in whatever aspects, and I think that's obviously super important. I think it affected a lot of people in the same way because Quan just like it playing D1 football, had an ACL tear. And I think it helped him put things into perspective like, okay, I have a bad injury, and, but my boy's going through this. And then
Right.
Miles was telling me, he was like, man, he told me this literally last week. He was like, okay, I don't think you understand like how much that kind of changed our like little town in a way. Cause he was like,
Yeah.
my dad wanted to get a motorcycle. My mom was like, that ain't happening no more. Remember Demir? Yeah, obviously, Demir Bird. He wanted to get a motorcycle. Demir's like, I'm not getting a motorcycle anymore either. Like,
Yeah.
I think it just changed a lot, and I think he was telling me it just brought a lot of people closer together and kind of like gave them unity because we were
Yeah.
all like, I'm not saying I was super close with everyone. I'm not saying I was the most popular kid, but it was someone like to go around to, someone we all knew, and someone's going through it, and like the whole town kind of just like came together and all wanted to like be there for me, which is like super awesome. You can't find that everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like the support I had around me was phenomenal. Like that's what it comes down to, and the people I had around me, which is the most important thing. The people I had around me, it was really important and helped me get where I am like right now.
Man, that's incredible. So I want to wrap up with this. So like today, like just who are you today?
Sheesh, that's a hard question. I think I'm still like a young 26-year-old, still trying my best to like find out where I'm supposed to be. Like I have an idea and I have a mentor and all that, but I think I'm still trying to discipline myself to get myself to the next step. I talked with like my mentor last week, and I've told him my goal is I want my own consulting firm. I want to do commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to do that, and I want to be my own boss. And he pretty much sat me down last week. He was like, you want to be your own boss? I was like, yeah. He was like, do you think you're disciplined enough to be your own boss? So that's why this comes back to why are you waking up at 5:36 every morning? I was like, well, this is what I want my employee to do, and this is what my boss would want for me. Right. So I got to be 5:30 every morning. I can be ready to go by 6, and that's the goal. So, I think that's where I'm at right now. I'm just trying to work, and all that stuff, and I think that's where I'm at. Honestly, and my biggest thing is I love to give back. Mm-hmm. So obviously my other goal is to grow my nonprofit as far as I can. And I think a lot of people get it mistaken. Like real quick, I just want to say a lot of people get it mistaken when they focus on change. They focus on a grand scale, which is super false. The biggest thing about giving back and being charitable and trying to make change, it's what you can do around you. And I think that's the most important thing. I knew that I wouldn't start my nonprofit, and I knew I wasn't going to be big as a Ronald McDonald House. But that could be a goal, but that wasn't going to be the start. The start was, changing people's mindsets around you, trying to get people to be charitable around you, trying to find people, passionate about the same thing, just trying to, better your community one step at a time. And that's where it should start. So I think that's where I'm at now. Just, trying to better myself, trying to better my community. I mean, obviously there's still like a lot of things I have to work on personally, but I think that's where I'm at right now.
And I couldn't agree more. I think you truly have changed our community. Like, and when you said that, like, when you brought up Miles's mom, it just hit me like, yo, we were standing in the parking lot together talking. I remember that. And I remember just all the different faces and, the universal concern and just the love. And, it was just a beautiful thing in that moment, surrounded by such a tragic thing at that particular time. And I just have to bring it back to the Mixed Bag Coalition because like it's so strange that like people from all walks, it's not strange. Why am I saying it's not strange? It is truly it's indicative of how we really could exist in this world, to where people from all walks of life who have different interests, different hobbies, whatever, belief systems, so on and so forth, can come together around love, because that's all that was at that
No,
moment.
100%.
We loved you, and we wanted to make sure that you were good.
Yeah, no.
And
And that meant the world to like my family and my sister. Like I don't think people understand, but that literally meant the world to my sister.
yo, do me a favor. Next time you see your sister, like, just tell her like I appreciate everything that she did and everything who she is in that moment. Because I don't think I've ever like talked to your sister more than like a hi bye.
No, you know what? One more thing about the unity thing. So when I was in the hospital, my sister really wanted PND to shout me out. Do you
Oh
remember
really?
this?
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't.
So she really wanted PND to shout me out. And she got everybody, like from our town and all the people who went to TC to say
Mhm.
PND for Kit. And he ended up donating to my GoFundMe like a good amount of
Really?
money. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that. But yeah, that's like it all comes down to unity. Like everyone wanted to make that happen for me, and everyone did. And I mean, that's what it all came down to. We got Party Next Door to shout me out. You know what I mean? On Instagram, on Twitter, and he's out here donating to my GoFundMe. I mean, it was kind of a little wild when I saw it. I was like, wait, what?
That's
But yeah,
crazy.
it's super cool.
That's crazy.
Shout out my guy, Party Next Door.
Absolutely. But
But
yo,
yeah.
man, again, I want to thank you for just like sitting down and doing this. I know you've done this numerous times in some form or fashion, but you know, for us to really be sitting down and having an almost 3-hour conversation about
Yeah,
this,
dude.
like it really does mean the world to me, because I want you to know how much like we are forever connected.
No,
And
for
like
sure. For sure.
like our friendship extends beyond this, and like I'm eternally grateful for you. Just
Thank
for like
you. I
just
appreciate it.
you don't understand, bro. Like just for calling out my name.
I appreciate it. No, like I said, I was looking for comfort, and you were that one. So you trust me, your life has tremendous meaning, for sure.
I appreciate it, bro.
And that's the reassurance I could give you from my side. Like I could tell you to this day, and you were wondering, and you don't want to guess it. Like I was looking for comfort, and I found it like in that. So it is true.
That's love, bro. Listen, continue to thrive. I'm in your corner as always. And let's let this be like the refresher of us kicking it again.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
like because my fade game is nice. I can get busy too, bro. You know what I mean?
I mean, you know what? Me, you, and Fu, we're gonna go fishing soon. I think that's what we plan, and we got to get that
Please,
done.
man, let's make that happen, bro.
No, for sure. No, I appreciate this, and I appreciate you giving me like a spot to kind of like really let me like break down everything and like really say my part and say everything I want to. I really appreciate that.
Of course, man. I do want to allow you to just like, you know, like let people know where they can like donate to your foundation, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you know, my socials are just at Ankit Gohil, but I have a website, the AJ Gohil Family Foundation.squarespace.com. You could donate straight on the website.
Okay.
You can find out more about my nonprofit on that website as well, and a little bit about me and a little bit about the past events we've done and stuff. So you could definitely connect with me on there. And I have an Instagram for my nonprofit. It's just the AJ Gohil Family Foundation on Instagram. So
All right.
you guys can connect with me there as well.
And I'll definitely link everything in the show notes and descriptions. Once again, this is the Thrivers Podcast. Again, my name is Samat. This is my good friend, Ankit Gohil. Thank you guys for listening, watching. And may you always continue to thrive. And whatever you're going through at this point in time, just know that, you know, God is using that for you to do and be something great. So once again, thank you for listening. Ankit, thank you so much, bro.
I appreciate the time.
Let's keep on going, brother.
For sure. Appreciate it.